Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Julie Ostro, your humorous speaker and communication coach. Welcome back to another episode of Laughter, Levity, and maybe a few life lessons. Today, my guest is my friend, college friend, sorority sister from North Carolina State University, fellow speaker, and also a meeting planner. Tracy Stuckrath is the founder of Thrive Meetings and Events, and her mission is to educate meeting planners and actually in business owners, I would say, of hotels, of their dietary needs of their staff members and their meeting attendees. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Tracy Stuckrath. Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Julie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It kind of sounds like I feel like with Zoom calls and these Facebook Lives, I feel like Romper Room.
Why? Yes, I do.
I see Tracy and Susie, and hey, I see Tracy and Susie and Danny and Joey, and then I just dated myself, right?
No, that is so true, though. I haven't thought about that show in a long time.
Well, this is what happens, when you're isolated, quarantined, you get to have a whole bunch of fun parties in your mind.
Right, totally in your mind. Last Saturday was my birthday, and I was like, oh, I'll do a virtual dance party, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to dance in front of a computer by myself. And and nothing against Ally McBeal because I love that show, but it reminded me of that. And then I'm like, and you can't, when you're on a dance floor with your girlfriends, when we were in college and, we would whisper in the ear and go, oh, that guy's really hot, let's go hit on him. You can't do that when you're on a virtual dance party.
Let's see if I have anything. No, here, this is the only thing I have in my office right now. Oh, look at that guy. Hey.
And no, I don't like him.
No, and he used to say, oh, thank you very much. But now he sounds completely.
Oh, yeah. He's had too many drinks, Julie.
Yeah, exactly. So, we have Sharon says hello. Hi, Sharon. And the whole idea of getting on here, as I talked to you earlier today, is just to add some levity. And I don't know about you, but I can get uptight. And yes, humor is in my title. But yeah, shh, don't tell me. Shh, come on. It's a mask. Oh, wait, are we live?
Yes, we're live.
And I find that there are different tools that everybody can use to help function during stressful times. I like humor, and I've found that humor and laughter help. And it's also important to acknowledge our feelings because, like you just acknowledge it. Yeah, I can get wound up. Luckily, our close family members and spouses get to see the nitty gritty. But what are some tips that you have for getting through stressful times?
I get up and take a walk, and actually last week, my mom was like, you don't talk to us throughout the day. You're just on calls all day long. Because I live above my parents' garage. And my dad's like, well, no, she comes down and she talks to us in between her calls. So I like to schedule a little bit of time in between that because the calls can be stressful. We're on a ton of Zoom calls right now. I feel like I'm busier than I was before, and I traveled a ton for work, but you have to take those little bits of minutes of time to do that. And I'm dog sitting my brother's dog for the time being. And so she's got this stuffed gator, and we take that and we play tug of war, and I throw it in the air. And so those is, right now what I'm using really is to help de-stress and break down what I just learned, give you that time to digest what you learned and think about it.
And it's important to get up every hour. We've probably heard when we worked in the offices, make sure that you get up every hour. And I know that my mood changes when I'm sitting all day. And even if I'm being productive in my mind, I mean, I don't mean like making it up that I'm productive, but I mean using a lot of my brain matter to be productive. And getting up and moving. Just before this call, I did a 30-minute workout in the basement because I thought, okay, I got to get motivated to do this because I worked out 2 days ago, or yesterday. All these things are running together.
Yes, they are.
So getting up and moving and exercising helps to release dopamine, happy chemicals.
This thing right here, this Apple Watch, Yeah. And the fact that it dings and says, okay, you need to move, get up, it helps me. And I want to stay on top of it because it does make me move, and it makes me think about how much I am moving. And if you don't exercise, and then my nieces are like, yeah, we're going to do this 14-day, challenge of doing whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And we actually have to log in. We have to send a text on our phones to each other and say, hey, okay, I did it for today. And just to shed this COVID 15, the 15 pounds that we're gaining. Yeah.
I don't know if I gained the freshman 15.
Mm-hmm.
When I transferred to a small college in Michigan to NC State, I probably gained, I don't know, maybe a transfer 20.
Yeah, the people who manage transfer students at the universities need to pay attention to that. You don't want to make this stressful. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting if these watches could measure how much cortisol you have in your body, how much, the stressful hormone, right, and how much dopamine you've got going, or just, hey, move it, fat ass. Hey, lazy.
I don't want it to tell me that.
No, then we won't do that.
No, I don't want.
No, you're not. I'm just for a moment. I remember this this little device that we had growing up, because I have 4 sisters and a brother, and it seems like for about 4 or 5 years consecutively, people were dieting, and so we're all conscious of dieting, not getting weight. But we had this device that was in the refrigerator that when you open it up, it said a message. Are you eating again? Wait, well, hello there, fatty. No wonder. Wait, are you eating again? No wonder you look the way you do. Shut the door, fatty.
Nice. Oh my God, I would hate that.
That was like 1982. Could you imagine if that would be? We're supposed to be positive. We're supposed to
not really a conversation. Let's not talk about that.
Okay, let's not. That's not positive. Yeah. Positive is I made lemon bars twice and I ate a lot of them, and that made me happy.
Yes, exactly. Somebody posted I was Facebook Live last week, and he wrote, hey, Tracy, am I supposed to be eating cheese and cheesecake all day long every day? And I'm like, no, I want to see less of you, not more of you. I want to see you more, but I don't want to see more of you. Yeah.
And so, which brings me to your business of being a meeting planner, and you work with hotels and other meeting planners to help to make sure that the food is meeting the dietary requirements of the attendees, right?
Yep, I do. Yep.
And how is what you've been doing changed now that you're doing everything virtually?
Yeah, nobody's feeding any. I mean, there are people feeding people. So it is, I was actually just on Facebook Live a little while, last hour, with Emily Brown from the Food Equality Initiative out of Kansas City, talking about that. And because we're in a pandemic, and people are providing food in food banks and donations, but this is a startling number. Only 4 pantries out of 60,000 in the U.S. actually really wholeheartedly focus on providing food for those that have food allergies and celiac disease. And that number, I don't even want to try to do the math in my head on that. But then I brought up, I'm like, all these wonderful organizations are donating food to, the healthcare workers and frontline workers, but I want to know, are they providing options? And her girls have food allergies, and they have the 504 plan with their school, the elementary school. And the school came out with a notice and says, we will not be honoring any of the 504 dietary needs plans. And because they went to go get one of their meals, and it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and her girls are allergic to peanuts. And so she's like, so there's a break in the system, and how do we do this? So just talking about it from that COVID side, but for meeting planners right now, I am doing education around when we do come back, what does that look like? And food safety, and, how do we create a buffet station differently going forward? If we even do buffet stations going forward, and is it a la carte, or is it 100% plated? Is it box lunches? So looking at and talking to chefs and venues about what their thought process is going through, and nobody knows the answer. So
and just really quick, what is the 405? I imagine the 504 plan is a government subsidy plan.
it's a plan that if you have a disability or any other need, families can communicate to schools that their child has a need that the school needs to help provide for. So a friend of mine's got, if you've got learning disabilities, it applies to that, food allergies and things like that. So you fill out that paperwork, and it's through the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Well, that doesn't really make sense to me if the plan itself is geared toward those with disabilities, including people with food allergies, and then they're not going to comply with that.
Well, and that's what Emily's point was, that in cases of emergency, there's a break in the system, so we need to be able to, so people aren't thinking about how that needs to be addressed when there are incidences like that. Because you can even think about, hurricanes, and when FEMA goes in and addresses that and is feeding people with the earthquakes and the flooding and all of that stuff, are we providing options for those people? And with 32 million Americans having food allergies, it's a large number of people. So it's every 10% of the adults, and I think it's 13% of kids. So, that have food allergies, and that's a large contingency, larger than people want to admit.
And you know what? And as we're talking about this serious topic, I'm feeling anxious because No, this is fine. The reason I'm telling you this is because if I'm feeling a little anxious about this, what other anxieties and stressors are people out there, people you talk with, experiencing? And so which brings me to, how do people, no matter what challenges they have, not just being isolated and under quarantine and not being able to go to work, but all these other stressors weren't even on my radar. How are these people, how are we getting to them about adding levity to their lives? Because I know that for a fact, humor helps. It really does. Humor helps. And it's not to say, oh, everything is all hunky-dory and I'm going to look at everything from a lighter perspective. And that's not it. Sometimes I use humor as a mask. Sometimes I use it as a healing process. Because I know that when I see something or experience something stressful, I can look at the absurd of it. Just something like I look at the absurd of it and then gratitude, and that helps me find the humor in it.
Right.
For example, we're quarantined.
Right.
The positive of everyone being in their homes, the traffic is great.
So totally. The earth is becoming healthier.
Well, yeah. Oh, and the earth is becoming healthier. And so maybe finally that plastic bag that I threw away is finally disintegrating. Something. So how can we then help, or how can I help the people that you come in contact with to add just a little bit of levity into their lives? What do you think we could do?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I mean, there are comedians out there, who do jokes about food allergies, and the food allergy community does not like that.
Don't imagine not. No.
And the cartoons that come out, and oh my God, Thanksgiving dinner and things like that. I mean, that food allergies are a disability, and we need to take it seriously. And so not making fun of them is the first part. But so I don't, just general fun, and laughter, and instead of using it as the centerpiece of your comedy, how can you change that? Right.
And I'm glad I'm happy you said what you said about not making people with food allergies the center of the joke. I have a rule. I'm not going to make fun of you. You don't make fun of me. You don't make fun of me. The only person who has the permission to make fun of me is me.
True.
I make fun of a situation that I'm in. And it's not in. So instead of, and I think comedy and humor are two different things, because finding humor in the fact that my husband loves to watch every single Harry Potter movie a gazillion times. He loves to watch every one of the Hobbit, Trollkin, Golden Dinosaur, all the trilogies. I asked him last night. I mean, I asked him last night, so which one is this? And he said, this is the second movie in the second trilogy. And I said, I have no idea what that means. So the humor in it is, I don't mean to make fun of the fact that he enjoys that.
Right.
But I'm making fun of the fact that I don't. And,
right.
And then I laughed when he said, well, haven't we seen that? I said, well, how about if we watch such and such? And he said, well, haven't we seen that already? And I gave him a look. And he knew exactly what that look was. That look was acknowledging our same conversation of Harry Potter is on again. I don't even know, it was Lord of the Rings. That's the name of the movie. It's the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily making fun of that he likes that, but making fun of the fact that there's so much of a disconnect between what he likes and what I like.
Right. Yeah, totally. That's a very good example. I don't have one to talk about for food allergies though, and celiac and all of that.
How about this? Before you come up with an answer, how about this? Has anyone you talked with made fun of themselves? Or
oh, I do that all the time,
Okay. See, then you're a perfect example. How do you look? I didn't.
Well,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. This has nothing to do with my food allergies, but it last summer I had surgery on my shoulder and we were coming home and we hit a bear in the dark. And
a real bear.
A real bear. Yeah. We killed the bear. Unfortunately, sorry, animal activists. We didn't mean to. He jumped out in the middle of the road. And I was still all drugged up from the medicine from my surgery and all of that stuff. And the EMT showed up and my mom's in the car and she's crying that my daughter just had surgery. And the guy's like, do you need to go to the hospital? I'm like, well, my mom thinks I need to go to the hospital. And he's like, well, do you think you need to go to the hospital? And I'm like, I don't know. My mom thinks I do. And so I decide, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to the hospital. So I'm in the ambulance and I take a picture of my feet and the doors of the ambulance thing. I post it on Facebook, tag my parents saying, we just got done with the surgery. We just we thought it was a deer at the time, a deer. And now I'm on my way to the emergency room. And my friend Christy, this makes me so laugh about myself. And she's like, Tracy, you couldn't answer the EMT's question on whether you needed to go to the hospital, but you could totally post on Facebook and tag people, live that this just happened to you. And I'm like, okay, Chrissy, point taken. Like
it goes to show you can post on Facebook when you're drugged.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Is very hard.
Make it coherent. Yeah.
So a one-on-one conversation is harder than posting on Facebook when you're drugged.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, and I do make fun of myself, I'm like, I've got to have this or I've got to have this. And, we bought my dad some dairy-free ice cream the other day and he looked at it and he's like, I don't know about that. And he bit into it. He was like, oh my God, wow. And so now I'm like, see, it's not, so I don't know if that's making fun of, but it's showing to the fact that this stuff doesn't have to taste as bad as you think it does.
Yeah, and I remember
it doesn't have to, but it does. It does not taste as bad as you think it does. So.
Years ago, I remember going to Whole Foods with a friend of mine, and he said, because Whole Foods was known to have everything that was gluten free, and before gluten free was a standard term. It was more than 10 years ago, and I remember walking into this Whole Foods, and they had the samples, and he said, I don't want that. I need something with gluten in it. It was just, and how he said it was just, can't eat that cookie. It doesn't have gluten in it. And he said it nice and loud. And so in the context, it was funny, but to explain it, it's not. And I remember,
yeah.
And finding humor in anything I think it's healthy. But again,
it's totally healthy. Yeah.
As long as
when I'm an event planner and we're running around, one of the top 5 most stressful jobs, which is not something to brag about, but, and we're pulled in multiple directions and sometimes it is, you get a long list of people who have different dietary restrictions and you can find the humor in what somebody tried to provide. I'm like, really? That's what you thought you were going to serve this person? So you can find the humor in that, but it's like pulling humor. It's really good to laugh with your coworkers in those situations because it does release the stress that you have of pulling a bigger rabbit out of a really tiny hat that you didn't have the day before. So,
right. And I think you touched on something there about collaboration and being together. And we can do this. We can connect even if it's just electronically and we just have our heads. Right. But connection can be obtained through humor. So laughing at something or finding humor in the same situation, or struggling together, or safety in numbers, or we're all in this together, we can laugh at it together, then we can find a common solution. That's, I think.
But I think you also have to be very cognizant of what people are going through, and that making sure that, again, you're not making fun of that person, but you're making light of that conversation or that situation to help them think about it. It actually can help make people think about something differently.
That's a good point. And I'm glad you said that more than once, making sure you're not making fun of the person, but just the situation. Because you can easily go cross that line if you're not careful.
Yep. Very much so. And, my dad sends these videos and these emails with different things. And one of the things was what people are wearing to the grocery store to go shopping. And this guy put an entire green bag over his body and then put it looked like a Star Wars character's mask on his face. And some guy on Instagram posted it and saying, "Oh, the fashion design awards are going to be much different this year," And I mean, this person, you can't see this person's face, so you have no idea who you're making fun of. But it's just taking light of what people like. And somebody else wrapped their dog in Saran wrap and took them on a dog walk. I'm like, I looked at my dog. I looked at the dog, and I'm like, "Do you really want me to do that to you?" I'm like, no. So
the one thing the dog could say would be, "No, don't wrap me in Saran wrap."
Yeah. Exactly.
You were talking about when you were the surgery and your surgery with the arms. That reminded me when I had my I had a nose job, but it was just to fix my deviated septum. And so after surgery, when I was still under anesthesia, and I had the gauze on my nose, and so I could see a little bit of red at the end because it was blood. And I remember sitting in the recovery area, and I said, "Oh, I'm like Rudolph. I'm cute." And I was coming out of it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm cute." She says I'm cute. Oh.
Well, and one of the things that I do, and I said to you this earlier, it's like I talk to strangers, and I'll see and I have this really bad habit. I love my habit, but it's also, you can totally make fun of me about it. I really don't care. But like, I will start having a conversation with somebody who doesn't even know that I'm having a conversation with them, and I will make a comment of a situation. I'm like, "Oh my God, did you really see that guy just do that?" or something like that. And they look at me and they're like, or they just walk by. They have no idea that I'm talking to them. But I'm like, okay, well, fine. You don't want to talk to me. But
I do too. I do too. And then when I've been with you, I love seeing that. I love it because it's something that I do. And I think you do that so naturally. And there are times when I've been with you. If you talk to people, I think you already know that person.
Well, today I called the SBA for my loan, right? And to see what was happening at the end of it, the guy just sounded so tired. And I'm like, "How many hours a day are you working?" And he's like, "What?" He goes, "Our hours of operation are I'm like, "No." "How many hours are you working? You sound really tired." He's like, "I'm working like 12, 13 hours. And I said, and I'm like, "And where do you live?" And he's like, "I live in Miami." I'm like, "Well, don't go to the beach." Because, even if it's open, don't go to the beach. And he just started laughing. And I'm like, that's what, and then, oh my God, actually this one, just laughter wise, I called Delta to change one of my tickets. I had canceled my ticket, but I needed to reinstate my miles that I was taking my nieces on. And the Delta agent picked up the phone, and she was just laughing so hard. And I'm like, "Well, that is not the experience that I was expecting when you answered the phone. I expected you to just be very like worn out." Wow. And she's like, "Tracy, this guy just hung up on me." And all I can do is laugh because he's like, this is the beginning of March. He's like, he wanted to cancel his ticket in September. And he's like, and she's like, I can't do it. And he's like, well, I don't understand. Just got so bent out of shape. And she's like, she's like, I was very nice to him. And I explained the regulations and the rules right now. And she's like, but he hung up on me. So I just started laughing. And so I actually had her on speakerphone and my parents were there. And she had the three of us rolling over laughing, just letting the release out of her stressful day of helping everybody change their tickets. And at the end of that conversation, she's like, thank you so much for giving this to me at the end of my shift. And she was a manager that was filling in for somebody who couldn't come to work. And I think just even with people on the telephone that you don't even know, that's what adds joy and that humor to it, and just releasing that laughter.
I'm going to type this: connect with strangers.
Yes, connect with strangers. Well, and my theory is that you can't make new friends without talking to strangers.
Exactly. And when you told me that when we talked earlier today, I thought that is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I know little kids aren't supposed to talk to strangers, but you can't make a new connection. You can't find a new business client without talking to a stranger, and you can't make a new friend without talking to a stranger.
Can't make a new friend. This is how typing class and piano lessons help, because I can look at you and type. Hopefully it's correct.
I just see connect with strangers on the thing. So yeah.
Oh, I'm not done typing it.
Oh, okay.
And you can't make a new friend without talking to strangers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I
was talking to this guy, or what's his last name? I want to make sure I get it right. Larry, where's my calendar? I was talking to Larry this morning. He's a member of National Speakers Association in North Carolina with me, and we were talking about sales and and soft sales. He's like, Tracy, I really don't think there's soft sales. He goes, you have to actually promote yourself. And somebody he learned from, and I don't remember who it was, but said, if you're here to help, you're actually being selfish if you don't share what you know to help the other person.
Yeah.
And that again is talking to strangers, because he said, promoting yourself on social media, whatever platform it is, if you're sharing that knowledge, you're helping someone who you didn't even know needed that help.
Yes.
And it made a different look. It made me think about sales differently and promotion differently. Because if you're providing help and support, then you don't know who you've actually touched and supported.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that touches on creating community, whether it's in a social media community, say a Facebook group, or LinkedIn group, or even a network group that you're going to go to.
Right.
I like the give, and I like the give and take, but not necessarily with the expectation that I'm going to get something back. If I monitor myself and if I feel like, oh, I'm doing this to get something in return, I feel icky about it. And I've got to recalibrate. Okay, why am I doing this? Well, I want to help somebody. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to make sure I'm in touch with myself, to make sure I'm not doing something just with ulterior motives, but most importantly, does somebody need a helping hand?
Right. And actually, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but it reminds me of the Friends episode when Phoebe and Joey were trying to do something selfless, and she got stung by a bee, I think. And they were like, well, that actually wasn't even selfless and either. So I don't know, but it doing things altruistically. Am I using that word in the right way?
Yep.
Yeah. Just to support and help people, I think is the best way.
I'm typing that.
You quoted me. Oh, you put a quote on there with my name. Yay.
I did, of course.
Thank you.
And then this, I'm not sure if that's exactly right.
I have to find that episode of Joey and Phoebe on just helping others, just doing it for the sake of doing it and not wanting anything in return.
I find I'm a helper, and then I realize I think I said this, I think, to somebody in my kickboxing class. It was when we were at the class, of course.
Okay.
I said, oh, I'm sorry. I have the tendency to help a lot. And there's a fine line between helping and being codependent. So I think I just crossed the line. But if you need some help, I'm here. Because I get passionate, like especially if it's someone newer to class, and I've been going to the kickboxing for almost a year. And if I can sense that someone's not sure how to put their wraps on, like, ooh. So with excitement, it's like, oh, hey, if you want some help, and I do it this way, and da 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 da. And if they look at me like this, I got it. Then I know how to read people and kind of back off. But
right,
that right there, Tracy, is an example of me laughing at myself. I just poked fun of myself, and I said, you know what? I'm not quite sure where the line is between helping and being codependent, but hey, so it's acknowledging the elephant in the room. Yeah, I just interfered with your space, but hey, my intentions were good.
Exactly. Well, and I do that at the Atlanta airport a lot. Like somebody will be looking at the screen and they're like, okay, where am I going? And I'm like, okay, where do you need to go?
Yes.
And I literally do that with anybody that's trying to, if I can tell that they're lost and they're trying to figure out something. I don't work at the Atlanta airport. I just lived here I went through it for 22 years straight now. And I that's what I do. I actually walked some guy who was from another country from one gate to his other gate because he had no idea how to get through the Atlanta airport, and it's big. So I don't blame him for being lost, but I had to walk him. And I didn't have to walk him. I offered to walk him to his next gate because he was so confused. So
that doesn't surprise me. Do you ever get this? Sometimes I get this and people ask me, oh, do you know where such and such is? So I guess it looked like I know what I'm doing.
Okay, so I'm going to totally make fun of myself now too. So Mark Johnson, Sarah Jane's husband. I don't know if you know Mark, but you know Sarah Jane.
I haven't met Mark. Another important sister of ours.
Right. Sarah Jane is, not Mark. But yeah, Mark was around. So he and I was house sitting for them in Greenville last year, and we went on a walk together in downtown Greenville. And so I'm like, so these ladies were walking to us, and I love African American women's hair, and she had this big afro, and I'm like, oh my God, I love your hair. And I'm like, and they were coming in. I'm like, oh, watch out for the biker behind you. They're coming around and da 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 da. And so Mark's like, good morning, Greenville. Good morning, Greenville. This is Tracy. Hi, Tracy. Hi, how are you? So he does that to me all the time. And he's like, you are just so, and this is like at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, you are like the freaking town, welcome committee. And so, yes, he makes me laugh at myself all the time because it's just me saying hi to everybody I know or don't know.
When my husband and I go to the grocery store together, well, now I just go because it's better for just one person to go. But when we would go, he said, can we just go in and go out? I'm like, no, but I'll see somebody I know. And then when I come home from, I don't know, someplace new or grocery store or whatever, when I come home and say, hey, I met somebody, or I made a friend at the store, and he goes, really? That's so unlike you.
Right. Mark says that about me because I said something about meeting somebody on my walk in my neighborhood here in North Carolina. And he's like, that does not surprise me, Tracy.
Exactly. I think that's the same tone my husband uses. Oh, you're what? Go ahead.
So I met this little 80-year-old man, and I'm like, had his dog out, and I was walking the dog, and I'm like, so how are you guys doing? And he's like, well, my wife and I are going to go to Walmart later today. And I'm like, well, do you need me to go to Walmart for you? I'm like, I'm happy to do that for you so you guys don't, get infected. And he's like, and he doesn't even know my name. He's like, she just can't not shop. So she has to go with me to go shopping. And so I told Mark, I'm like, yeah, I met this 80-year-old man, and I'm like, I'm offering to go shopping for him. And he's like, of course you are. So
that's the way to do it.
Yes, exactly.
I have a friend I met at Meijer 3 years ago, and it's because I was talking to somebody who had a Chi Omega shirt on, and she said, I think my daughter's friend left this at the house. And I said, I asked because I was a Chi Omega at North Carolina State University. Out of the blue, I hear a woman's voice say, "I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation, but I went to NC State University." So sorry to interrupt, she said. I said, "Oh no, I was interrupting her grocery shopping." So that woman who was wearing the Caillou shirt, she was long gone. But
Right.
Latoya
Wow.
and I are friends. We met in the produce section of Meijer. And as a matter of fact, she's in my neighborhood. So we were talking about where we live. Turns out we live a 5-minute walk from each other. And I dropped off lemon bars to her the other day.
Wow, that's so awesome.
And she went to Caillou. She went to NC State, I think 8 years after I was there.
Yeah, I feel it when I meet people like that, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm much older than you.
Yeah, I need 2 packets of the hair coloring stuff. But yes,
right, exactly.
In the dorm. But I love our conversation because no matter what you're doing in your business, where you're living in the world, and what you're doing, humor and connection can really, and lightheartedness can really help you get through a moment or a day, or hopefully through this quarantine.
Yes, I think so. I'm trying to find our chapter on Facebook, but I can't find our chapter. I
can share to that. I can share the link to the group.
I just put regular Caillou in there. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really does. And even just now, I mean, people are like, don't sell, it's, or wait for a specific amount of time, but just pick up the telephone and say, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And actually I got in the car a couple of weekends ago and I live in a very small town. So I drove 2 hours so I could go get some horseradish hummus from Trader Joe's.
Did you go to Raleigh?
Yeah, I drove to Raleigh to get horseradish hummus. I know I'm cuckoo, but so, and actually a note on that, then I went into this little coffee shop to get some it's a vegan gluten-free bakery and coffee shop. And she's like, you drove 2 hours here? I'm like, yeah, I really want to get this hummus, this horseradish hummus. She's like, oh my God, isn't that the best stuff? So, so the girl at the coffee shop thought the same thing. But on the ride home, I just started dialing, looking through my phone book while being a good driver at the same time, because it's on the screen, trying to find people. And I just picked up the phone and just started calling people. And I talked to 4 or 5 people that I hadn't connected with in a long time. And we were able to laugh about old stories or talk about what's going on and check and find out about our friends in a variety of different ways. And I just loved that. And that's what this has given me, a little bit more time to just make those phone calls. So.
Yeah. And I think that's good because you have to talk to people. And I remember I used to write letters a lot. I used to, especially after I moved from Raleigh a year after graduation up to Chicago. And I wrote letters all the time, long before email. But I love that connection of sending a little hello in the mail. And it's a surprise. And the same can go for a phone call.
Yep.
Talking to a person.
Well, and just on that note, my friend Julie Holmes is a speaker, and she connected me. She gave me this link, Touchnote, TOUCH note.com. And she gave it to me as a speaker thing, saying, take pictures of yourself at the event, of the group, of your speaking engagement, and then on your phone, and then through their app, you can actually create a postcard or a folding card, and you can have it mailed to them directly. So immediately, as long as you've got their address, you can put it in there, and then Touchnote makes a postcard with those pictures that you uploaded and mails it for you. And so,
oh my gosh,
I know, it's awesome. So the other day I'm like, okay, so who haven't I connected with in a while? And I just went on my phone and found photos of them. And so I've got 2 friends, I'm not going to tell them who they are at this point, that are going to get
surprised.
Yeah, it's going to be a surprise. Just to say, hey, I was thinking about you, and here's pictures of what we've done the last couple of years together. So I think that, Touchnote is my new little favorite thing to do, especially with photos that you've got. So
it's Touchnote. Is it an app?
You go online and you sign up for the subscription, but there is an app for it. Yes.
So when people watching now or later, they can see. Touchnote.
Yeah, I can, let's see.
Cool.
Touchnote.
Oh, here, I'll get rid of this so you can see. Oh, very easy.
Oops. Yeah. So,
What a
yeah.
great idea.
Yeah, I like it. And I was just, I'm cleaning out my phone. That's the other thing I'm doing, is trying to clean out my phone of photos and people I haven't talked to in a decade or so that I don't even remember how I know them. But, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. So instead of just sending it to my clients, I'm just sending it to friends who I haven't talked to in a while with photos of us together.
I like it. And there's so many ways that we can, and that's one way that you can have connection. And that connection is a way that we can get through challenging times. And I don't, maybe I should edit myself when I just said get through challenging times, because that to me, just when I said that, I imagined just sitting and waiting for it to be over. But that's not the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be, I'm learning from something. I'm continuing to, make sure that I'm doing what I need to do in my business, not just waiting, and still be my best self, not just eat through the quarantine, not be just depressed through the quarantine, just little tools that we can use to maintain and improve ourselves through this quarantine. Almost like a reset.
Yeah. I mean, clean out your inbox, oh, look at me, there I am. Clean out your address book, things like that. And then and I've actually been talking to meeting planners and hoteliers and stuff about, take this time to look at your menus. How many of your menu items actually are vegan? How many of them are vegetarian? How many of them are gluten-free and dairy-free? So you may be furloughed right now, but it's a good time to reassess what you did in your job and how can you improve that job. So looking at it, and how can you, when you come back, how can you provide a better experience for your employees as well as your attendees with the food that you serve? I just took a totally different direction of what we were talking about.
No, that's fantastic. That's great. Because when someone looks at this video, they're going to say, oh, that's really good. And it ties everything in. I think it ties into positivity. It ties it, which is humor. It ties into how are we getting through this? How are we making ourselves better through this? So reset what you did in your job before. So you're providing a better experience for your employees
and your customers.
And let's say, and then making sure that when meeting planners see this, so they see customers and meeting attendees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Says Tracy.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So we need to also tell people. So Julie and I were in college together in 80s and 90s, right? Yes. We, through this technology that we are currently live on right now, Facebook, I posted on Facebook that I was at the Hotel Del in San Diego, and I had not seen Julie probably since 1990. Is that what we determined? Or 89? When did you leave state?
Graduated 89, left Raleigh in 90.
Yeah, so we haven't seen each other since 89, 90. And so this is 6 years ago. And I posted that on, and she's like, oh my God, I am in San Diego too. Can I come see you? And she was there for a laughing convention. And she just won the World Laughing Championship. And she brought her trophy with her. And we walked around the Hotel Del. And people were like, what did you win that for? And she just started laughing. We were rolling on the ground laughing so much all day long. But so that's what this communication, I mean, it's just reiterating what Facebook can do. And even what you're doing with your, with Zoom and all of that stuff is how do you use that connection to then bring it back to a live personal message once we are back to meeting again. So, and seeing each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because I saw, oh my gosh, she just checked in, and tomorrow our conference is over. And I was in the lobby lobby of the hotel in downtown San Diego. So, across the waterway, and other conference attendees were asking, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm looking at ferry schedules right now because I'm going to take the ferry over to Del Coronado. And Harold, who's from Norway, said, I rented a car. I'll drive you there. So he drove me over there, and if he's watching now, he'll remember that he drove on the wrong side of the road. I mean, in the wrong way. I mean, opposite direction. So we almost died on our way to seeing you. So it made it even more miraculous that we got there. No,
yes,
adding drama. But yes, so the technology can keep us together. Pick up the phone the old-fashioned way. Have a note. Write a note to a friend. Walk your dog. Adopt your brother's dog.
Right, exactly.
Get off the couch. Get off the couch.
Yes.
Thank you so much today. I really appreciate talking with you and hearing your insight of what you've been doing, and thanks for laughing and chatting with me today.
You're welcome, Julie. I love laughing and chatting with you.
Likewise. Bye. Bye. Wolfpack.
Go Wolfpack. Woo, where's my camera?